So in my last video, I found that my microphone wasn't recording my voice very well. So I invested in this little lavalier mic. We're going to test to see how good it is. I'm still a bit sick, so my voice isn't at max level. But I'm going to give you a little run through of my shop. I plan to restore this little knife here. It is serrated. It's a bit dirty, but overall in pretty good shape. Most of the serrations are still present and popped. Some of them are pretty dull. Overall, the blade is pretty dull. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try to match this angle, and then I'm just going to use a buffer to buff the top. Tools that I'm using in my shop, I have some variable speed sanders. I usually like to start at a bit of a higher grit, usually around 400. I just find that it gives me a bit more control. It takes slightly longer, but unless I have to do something really dramatic, like change the profile on this old blade, which I'm going to work on soon, I usually keep it a bit higher just to give me a bit more feedback, a bit more control. This one I'm going to grind out to a completely different profile and change it quite a bit. But that's not for today's video. So I have dust gates set up here to collect dust. They're not perfect, as you can see, but they do collect quite a bit of dust as long as I have the gate open. Excuse me. The second sanding machine, I usually have 1000 grit just to refine the edge. And then I have a leather belt, and then I use green compound. So this whole system here is connected through the back with these hoses and clamps. It comes down into a cyclonic dust deputy, and I haven't opened this in a while, but I probably should. I have just a quick release 5-gallon container here. That collects most of the heavier particles and dust, like when I'm using this hose to vacuum up the shop. Here is the vacuum. It's just a shop vacuum for now. Eventually I will get a dedicated dust collection unit that's much larger and has a larger cubic feet per minute draw. Sometimes, if I want to refine the edge even further, I come over here to my buffing station. This is just a very cheap 6-inch buffing station. I have a hard felt wheel here and a soft cotton flap wheel here. Around my little shop I have various other tools that I'm testing out. Like this is a wet grinder, which I haven't completely set up yet. I've kind of hacked it together with various parts. It is for wet grinding. The native wheel is smaller than these Makita wheels, which I got, so I'm still trying to get that up and running. Drill press, a large sander here. This was bought used this year at some point, 2-inch by 72-inch, and I usually like to do this one for heavy stock removal. I just got my knife kiln, so eventually I'm going to be making custom knives when I have the time. But first I have to pay an electrician to figure out this mess and try to get a dedicated line specific to this model machine. I try to keep my belts and everything organized in bins and just label them by what they're for. Up here is all the 2x72 belts. They're kind of all over my shop right now. Shop's kind of in transition. Got some art I'm going to hang on the walls eventually. And I try to keep everything sort of in order. I have magnet bars, a leather strop. This is a really good razor strop. Has the canvas on the back and a nice vegetable tan leather on the front. Some more random strops and tools. Here I have a little knife cabinet just made myself. Kind of keep track of some stuff that I'm practicing with or that is a part of a collection. Some unique blades here, fishmonger's knives, uh, melon knives, unique knives from China, Thailand, Germany, France. A lot of these were bought used, some were bought new. Some knives I've modified. Just a way to keep track of what's going on in the shop, stock-wise and such. That's about it. Now I'm gonna get to the sharpening, and I will be placing my phone in this guy to take crude videos until I can afford a nicer camera setup, and we will restore this blade. Came out pretty well. I will go test the sharpness now. It is very difficult to test serrated knives with paper. One thing I usually like to do is I have some old gym mat. So you can see here, there's some old gym mat. Cuts pretty good. It is very sharp, but I'm not really sure how to display it. Fine edges are a little easier than serrated. Cleaned up real nice. Very clean cut. So on the back side of this blade, I did take the blade profile up a bit. Looks like I was a bit uneven towards the rear. Pretty clean towards the front. You can see all the teeth are back up, quite prominent. On the other side, I was mainly trying to get the dirt, crud out of all these teeth. You don't want to sharpen on this side with a belt. It'll grind down your serrations if that's something that you're trying to keep. Almost mirror polish. Didn't expect that. I assume this blade is meant to be used as a bread knife due to the serrations. Maybe just sort of a serrated slicer. But I'm going to compare it to a much nicer VG10 bread knife. This one's very good. And this bread is very crusty and hard. These bagels are too. So let's see. Bagel test. Well, that wasn't so bad. Let's see the nice one. Well, I'd say for stale old bagels, they're both very similar. Okay, let's try it on this old crusty bread. I guess I'll cut along. Not bad. Let's try the nice one. definitely this one shines more on that test. I think these wider scallops help cut the bread a lot better than these very fine serrated teeth. All right, that's the knife I restored today.